My uncle used to have a saying. It's from the army. It's quite good for you, actually, Mark.
Yeah, what is?
If you're going travelling, you only need to take 3 pairs of pants. 1 on the bum, 1 in the bag, 1 in the wash.
Yeah, but you got to put a whole wash on every
No,
3 days.
No, in the sink. Do it in the sink.
In the sink.
Hand sink.
This is an army thing.
This is an army thing,
How
yeah.
many sinks have they got in Basra?
One in the bum, 1 in the bag, 1 in the wash. Yeah? Okay.
Hello and welcome to Jokes with Mark Simmons, the podcast where I chat to another comedian about jokes they can't get to work. As always, I am joined in the podcast studio by the one and only Mr. Danny Ward.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello. And this is a guest episode, so we are joined by the wonderful Ross McGrane.
Hello.
I was embarrassed because I asked Ross about the mic technique. You know, can you be careful to speak into the mic in a universal distance all the way through?
I witnessed that.
Said, well, I've been doing radio for 10 years.
Yeah, I've put pressure on myself now, don't I?
That's true. You've set yourself up for a fall there.
What's that, Ross? I can.
Do you ever do hospital
I'm really
radio?
conscious of it now.
Did you ever do hospital radio? Did you go straight into the beat?
I didn't actually, no. I went from... I started on online. I think because online obviously become a thing. You know, hospital radio become less something you had to do. So yeah, I did it online for probably about 2.5 years, various different online stations. And then I did a community station in Essex, which is like a 10-mile radius or something on the transmitter. And me and another comedian, John Oakes, did weekday breakfast there, unpaid, for about 1.5 years. And we were doing a full-time job as well. So we were doing like 6 till 9 in the morning, lugging glass about in a glass factory, then doing open spots in the evening because I just started doing comedy and stuff. And then we got picked up by Radio Essex, which is the commercial station for Essex, and we've been there for about 5 years now.
Sorry, not the BBC. Yeah, commercial.
Not
radio.
the BBC,
yeah,
no, not.
Oh, brilliant! That's cool.
about
So,
that?
I haven't got that sweet BBC money yet. But
so what? So that was what? 10? When did you start comedy? 10 years ago.
10 years ago this year, yeah, it'll be March the 18th will be my 10-year anniversary.
Brilliant. Can you remember any of your bits from have any of your bits survived 10 years from that first gig?
No, there's one joke that I wrote that was like my banker. It was the first joke I ever wrote, and then it became my banker for years. Like, I don't tell it anymore.
The first joke you wrote was a banker.
Yeah, I peaked way too early.
That's amazing.
Let's hear it. What is it?
It was about working. I used to work at the big call centre up for RBS. There's a huge call centre. It's one of the main call centres for RBS at Southend. And I was talking about in our first 2 weeks of training, we're going over words and terms of phrase that you should never use on the phone to a customer. And the top one was bear with me. It's true. They said you cannot use the words bear with me. And I was like, well, why can't everyone knows what that means? It's harmless. It means wait a minute or won't be long, bear with me. But they said, and they actually said this, they were like, you should never use the words bear with me on the phone to a customer in case they think there is a bear with you. And I was like, what? It's like, that's not true. How many log cabin call centres have you got in Canada, RBS? When there's a genuine possibility of a bear walking up to you. Just imagine if that did happen. Like, you're sitting there checking someone's balance. Gary's left the back door open again. And a bear walks up to your desk. Like, presumably you'd show slightly more alarm than, bear with me. It's a fucking bear.
That's really great. Oh, imagine. That's interesting, isn't it? Because if that's your first bit.
Yeah.
That genuinely is a lot of pressure now on every other bit.
Well,
because my first bits were rubbish.
Yeah.
So you could only get better.
I think the thing is you don't know that it's a good bit at that point. And it was like, I built my whole first set around that bit because I'd worked at RBS probably 8 years prior to that gig. But I remember going to see my mate after training and telling him that conversation had happened. And I was both just laughing about it. And then when my background's slightly different to most. My dad was running gigs back in the late 80s, early 90s, so I kind of got brought up around stand-up.
Comedy gigs?
Yeah, I set up my first gig when I was 14, and Mickey Flanagan opened. Lee Hurst
No
closed.
way.
Yeah.
So what gigs was he running?
A gig called Churchill's in Southend, and it was like, it was only about 4 clubs outside of London back then, so, and they all played it at some point.
Yeah.
And then I started booking gigs. Like when I left, in school was the first one as part of a business project. That was the Mickey Flanagan one, and then set up my first club when I left school.
So you knew how jokes worked, because you'd been around it. You'd seen.
Yeah, to my detriment though, actually, because I think like it took me so long. Like if you think I didn't start doing comedy, I always wanted to be a stand-up ever since I was like 7, and like but I didn't do my first gig till 2013, you know. And I think a lot of that was because I'd seen so much like club comedy. I didn't know who I was, and plus I was
Right.
young, and you know, I'd write a set and then show my dad and be like really proud of it, and he'd be like, "This is a load of crap," just talking about wanking and having a shit, and it's like, well, that's what I've done.
There is a
now.
lot of that in the early days, isn't there?
Well, yeah, because that's all we've done.
Yeah.
And men generally, we're disgusting,
also-
aren't we? So
Also back then, that was what people were doing, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
like on TV, there's a lot more of that sort of stuff.
So yeah, I mean, I think only now that I've sort of found my voice and you know, I'm now doing it full time and whatever else. Only now am I sort of seeing the benefits of all that knowledge that I'd absorbed, you know,
Yeah.
from watching all these acts, you know, come up. And
So you haven't done an hour yet. Is that you're going to do it, or have you done an hour yet?
I haven't done an hour yet. No.
So that's going to be hopefully this year.
Yeah, hopefully this year. Yeah, I'm working towards taking my first hour to Edinburgh,
Brilliant.
which is a bit nerve wracking, really.
Yeah. Before I agree going to that, do you want to hear my my call centre joke?
Yeah. Imagine if I said no.
Anyway, back to you, Ross. It never quite banged enough, but I do like it. If call centres come up in the gig, I'll do the joke. But I changed the angle into it, and I can't even remember where I am with it. But something along the lines of, I didn't really like my job answering a phone at a call centre. Wow, it wasn't for me.
I've heard you. I think you might have done that on the tour. Maybe is it possible?
Only if it came up in the room.
I feel like I've heard it.
Probably. But the well bit made it work better.
Yeah.
So just rhythmically, if you just go...
Do it without.
I didn't like the job answering phones in the call centre. Wasn't for me. But the well just adds that sort of, wow,
Yeah.
wasn't for me. Just
that
rhythmically,
extra
it
little
just
bit of-
sounds so much better.
Yeah.
But I actually think it might be better to... I feel like in the setup, you need to know that you didn't last very long doing it. I feel like maybe just saying that. I didn't really last very long in the job at the call centre answering a phone. Wow, wasn't for me.
Sure.
Or
I only lasted a year answering calls in a.
yeah, or not even a year. I'd say I only lasted a month working the call centre answering a phone. Wow, wasn't for me. I think that might be.
See, this is why I need a button on the keypad that goes niche podcast.
We need to get that sorted.
As it is, I got this, Mark. So, should we go into the?
Yeah. So how is it going with your hour? Are you going to just put everything that you've done? Will that call centre joke be in your hour?
Well, probably.
Good.
It's probably going to have to be. It's fun. I've not really been in any rush to get up to Edinburgh with a show. I just until something kind of like that I felt really passionate about, like that had, because you know what it's like. It's like I was desperate to not go out there and be accused of it being a club set with padding, because that'd be 100% accurate, and I don't want them to point out. But the way things have worked out, I feel like I've got to take one up there this year, and which is it's been a good thing, because it's made me kind of just examine all of my material that I've had over the last 10 years, and all the stuff that I run a weekly new material night, which I've been doing for 10 years, and I MC that every week, and it's a nice vehicle for material for me. But there's loads of stuff that I've told down there that have worked that's never really made it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience naturally. I've pulled all these, basically written the longest set list I've ever written, and then trying to finding what the common themes are to kind of try and find I don't want to force a narrative out of it, but just trying to find
how it links together.
Yeah. And also, and I got this advice from Russell Kane actually, I wrote out my set list in 2 columns and randomly drew lines between the gags, and then went down them and tried to find callbacks that way and then the other way again.
Oh, that's clever.
And it's like, you might find 1 in 6. But that 1 in 6 is like, you know how valuable a callback is.
Yeah, you only need 2 in an Edinburgh show, really.
Yeah. So, I think I'm just trying to sort of find the balance between, I want to take out, it is effectively a club set. There is a theme there anyway, because obviously we create themes so that the 20 flows or whatever, generally speaking.
Yeah. And if it's about you, then that is the theme, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. It's all kind of about, me sort of, I grew up on a council estate from a very working class background. My other half, not middle class background, I always had money. So we've been together 14 years, we've got a kid together, and I'm doing all right now, but I've still got the working class mentality. So it's like all the kind of gags sort of fall around this, this idea that technology is going too far the other way. So everything's costing so much money, and certain expectations that my other half's got because of the way she was brought up compared to mine. You know, she'd go to Centre Parks every year.
Right.
As a secondary holiday, you know, that was a promissory note that a real holiday would soon be arriving. You know, I had one holiday, I was 15, and we basically left. We basically went to a council estate in Spain. You know what I mean? That's what we did. Left one in England, and so there's that theme kind of runs through it anyway. But what I don't want to do is try and force a narrative that isn't there, because I think
you want it to
people can see through that in Edinburgh.
You want it to be organic, don't you? It's expensive, that Centre Parks, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because once you pay to get in, I was a runner on a commercial there, but once you pay to get in, actually, I'll tell you what my job was. We did a commercial for Centre Parks, and one of the shots was in there. You know, you think the whole thing's under a big old canopy, don't you? Did you used to think that? The whole thing's under a big dome? It's only the swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's only the swimming pool.
Not the swimming pool, the subtropical swimming paradise.
Well, the subtropical swimming paradise, of course.
Or the Veruca capital of the UK.
And one of the shots was to have at the bottom of the the water slide, right? And to have a cheeky bikini top come down it, right? To suggest that someone's lost their bikini top on the water slide. And I was at the top of this slide with a radio.
Hang on, what's going on there? Hang on, this is something people did.
No, this is for the advert.
Oh, with the advert,
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, right. I just thought, I just thought you went and would just do it.
So my job that day was to hold the bikini top, and when they say release it down the water chute so they could get the shot of it coming down.
That was you got paid for that?
Yeah, I got paid for lots of things like that. Yeah. Then I had to drive the rushes back to Soho from Nottingham after a 14-hour day. Anyway,
yes, let's.
should I?
Let's press the button. So you're working on your hour. Have you got any jokes at the moment that maybe through sort of, as it's your first hour, essentially, anything that doesn't work, it is for your new show, but it's also old stuff. So does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. I think your first hour is basically your greatest, all your stuff, isn't it? And then you look to find that organic sort of connection between it.
Yeah.
So mine was pressure point. So it's like, sort of about getting irate about things.
Yeah.
And finding that my blood pressure was high.
Yes.
You just sort of find an umbrella, don't you?
Yeah.
Just over the top of it.
Just putting it all out.
That was, wasn't it?
Award winning, yeah. There he
Award
is.
Oh, look at that.
There we go. So you're going through everything, like you said, you do all those new material gigs. Have you come across anything that you like, but you're like, doesn't work?
There's a couple. Yeah, I've got a couple of bits. I mean, how long have you got?
17 minutes.
There's a couple of there's a couple of like premises. I've got this story that I really like telling, but I feel like the punchline just isn't enough. It doesn't deserve the punchline doesn't. Yeah, the build up deserves more, I think.
Yes. So is it quite long, and then the payoff isn't good enough?
It's not. It's the longest bit. One of the longer bits that I've got, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's a story about the birth of my child. So we had a 36-hour labour, which is obviously a very emotive topic for a lot of people. And it's that journey, and it's the first bit that I'd told that was a little bit more long form, but something that was actually really true to me. And the audience are like, it's palm of your hand stuff, and it has got a payoff at the end, but it needs more, and I'm not telling it now for that reason.
Right. And what?
So basically, essentially, the bit is I'll do the short version.
I thought you were saying you're not telling it now. Like, well, what were we here for?
I'm not I'm not going to tell you now. It's a big secret. But no, it's essentially about like how we had a 36-hour labour, and like if you don't know what happens.
I like the fact you say we.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it usually gets that kind of gasp reaction. I'm like, yeah, I know, I was exhausted. You know?
Yeah. Do you say that?
Yeah, I do.
And does that get a laugh?
Yeah, that gets
Good
a laugh.
start.
Yeah.
Good start.
And then I say, like, if you don't know what happens in that situation, they check the woman every 4 hours to see if they're ready for the baby. And, we're like, it's midnight. We've been there for like 2 whole days, and they've checked her again. It's going to be another 4 hours. And I'm a mess. She's on all the drugs. I'm on some of the drugs. It's like gas and air. That's £5 a balloon at any festival you go to. I was like, so I've walked out the room. My mother-in-law was in there. And as I've walked out, I'm like, it's hit me. Like, she's going through it all, but I'm like, I'm a mess. I'm worried about the safety of her.
So I've just seen a joke there, but I don't know if it's... You say my mother-in-law's in there. Could the real reveal be that she's the one having your baby? My mother-in-law's in there.
I think that would be a different joke, but that would be funny.
Yeah, sorry. That again, that's an example of spotting a joke in there, but that would totally retract from where you're going.
Yeah.
Unless you did it as you do the joke and go, just joking. Anyway.
Yeah, that might be a nice
do you know what I mean? But yeah, sorry, continue.
chunk in there,
Suggesting that Ross has had sex with his mother-in-law.
I hope she won't be listening to. No, that has never happened. So it's about me leaving that room and then thinking, we never asked for help, men. I feel like I need help now. I need some support. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm like, I haven't slept. So I rang my best mate, Jamie, and I was like, look, mate, I'm sorry to trouble you so late, but I'd like Holly's in labour and blah, blah, blah. And I haven't eaten, I haven't slept. I just feel like I really need a mate. And he was like, don't you worry, brother, I've got you. And then he'd done like the most Essex thing any bloke has ever done in that situation, turned up at Southend General Hospital with a carrier bag. And this is a true story as well, in that carrier bag was a can of Stella, KFC bonus banquet for one, and a pre-rolled spliff. And I was like, what's that spliff for? He's like, oh, that's a victory spliff for when the baby's born, And he's like, I do smoke weed, right? I'm not a big drinker, but I smoke when like some people have a glass of wine after a day's work. I have a couple of puffs on a spliff. Now, just like people who drink wouldn't necessarily think about bringing a bottle of Merlot to the birth of their first kid, I wouldn't necessarily think about bringing a bag of weed either. But if you're going through that situation, it's highly stressful, you're a seasoned drinker, and someone passes you a glass of red wine, you might think, I'll just have one little fucking... So I thought, I'll just have one puff on this spliff, and I'm in the car, I've inhaled the KFC 100 mile an hour, and I get the spliff out, and I'll just have one puff it before I take the edge off, have one puff, go indoors, don't make eye contact with the mother-in-law, lay down 3 hours, wake up, be a dad, right? I lit the spliff, and have a couple of puffs, and then I'm like in this car park on my own. It's pitch black, starry night. I'm feeling spiritual, thinking like, my child's going to be born tonight. She'll be a Libra. And it was on the 6th puff of this spliff, I thought to myself, I'm probably not ready to be a dad. And then it's the story of me going in stoned and picking up like deodorant from the thing, and then when I get to the delivery room, the doctor's in there and he's like, oh, there you are. We're going to do a cesarean right now. And I'm like, now?
Right.
Hammies, scrubs, wellies, how much blood is there going to be,
Just to pause for a second, because there's points I
lots to
want to
unpack
jump.
here, isn't
There's
there?
points I want to jump into. So when you did the point of I took my 6th drag, is that the right word? I don't know.
So obviously I've rushed through it there.
Yeah. So when you say that, and then you say I'm probably not ready to be a dad, is the punchline that because you've had too much already? Is that what the joke is?
I think it's like the of how irresponsible I'm being in that moment.
So
it's
I think you maybe need to go bigger.
Is that the punchline you were talking about? That doesn't.
Yeah, that was the bit that always gets a laugh, but it doesn't get enough.
Oh, no,
but I feel like if you went, and it was after I finished the second spliff, I thought maybe I'm not ready to be a dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So go bigger.
Much sillier.
Or could it be that you find yourself at the wrong hospital after getting stoned, or something like that?
The trouble with the setup with that is there
brought it to the hospital, haven't they?
Yeah. But I see what you mean. Or maybe you could go. He said, "Come round quick." I went round there, and when I got to the hospital, and maybe the reveal is that you got. That is a good punchline if you can manoeuvre away. Is there another sort of hospital you could turn up to? And I think she could tell. So I went to reception, and I think the woman could tell that I was whatever because. And then reveal the place that she is.
It's all a good setup. There's just something. I see what you mean. I think it needs to be a bigger than.
Yeah.
I don't think it's obvious enough that that's the joke because sixth puff it just isn't enough. I don't think to be irresponsible.
Obviously, like I said, because I've rushed through it there, I try and paint the picture of like this, feeling stressed and anxious and all this stuff, and it's kind of something that's helped. I'm trying to be responsible.
Yeah.
Like it's not as bad as you think it is because. A spliff doesn't affect me in the same way it'd affect you, for example.
Well, Mark would be all over the shop.
But at the same time...
I have never smoked anything. Never even had a drag of a cigarette, nothing.
No. I've got a vape in my pocket. Do you want to start now?
No. I've got a joke
That'd be a great podcast. Let's get Mark high and see what he comes out with.
My friends asked me to vape. I said, no tar. There you go.
You'd be great to get high with, by the way.
Did you have to witness a cesarean section while stoned then? Because I think I'd get the fear.
So I think actually as a bigger longer form bit, it is not because it is hilarious. Like obviously I've over egged it, but what really happened is I did inhale a KFC way too quick. I was starving. I did have a couple of puffs on a spliff, and I think where I was like I hadn't slept, it did hit me a lot harder than I was expecting. But I had 3 hours to get over it, and then when I got in, they decided they're doing the cesarean now. But the thing is, in reality, you sober up like that. You know what I mean?
I've got a thought that, like, if you don't mention eating the KFC before, mention it that he gave you one, but don't mention eating it. Is there not a punchline about you're so high that during the cesarean section, and then a reveal be that you then eaten a chicken leg?
So in the room, I'm talking about like we're talking about the baby's born, and then it's time to cut the umbilical cord, and that falls on me. And, you know, that's the first and only responsibility you've got as a dad. I've been practicing warming up the weeks before, you know, and I don't know what I expected it to be, but if you've ever done it, it's disgusting. It's horrendous.
No.
It's a body part, mate. It took 2 goes to get through it. And then I have to say, like, the KFC's up here, you know, like remind them that I've eaten.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe you could do a couple of things here. Number one, get rid of that fact that the 3 hours, that there was a 3 hour break. Yeah. So maybe it's happening as soon as you've inhaled that KFC and you're stoned, and then you go in and, right, we're performing the
maybe it's
the
that you get a call.
And then you say, then it's like, oh, then you think, I wish I hadn't had that KFC.
Yeah.
Once the blood's out, the guts are there. I'm snipping it. Took 2 goes, and I'm thinking, I wish I didn't have the KFC.
But I don't know. That wouldn't make me laugh. That would make me go. I think it's a bit sort of. But maybe because this is the thing about I don't know anything about this. About when you get high, that you want to eat.
You get the munchies.
Yeah.
So is that not funny that you could be doing all this stuff and then wanting to be eating at the same time?
I've thought of something gross.
Go on then.
Well, do you know that some people eat placenta?
Behave. You'll get a reaction from the audience, but there's no deep fried placenta. That is awful.
Is that not what you're looking for now?
No.
Welcome to the Jokes Podcast. So up to this point, when you're delivering it, how are the laughs coming? Are they coming, or is it long gaps?
Yeah, no. There's a laugh at the point where I say the rule of 3, putting the stuff out the bag. You know, the KFC bonus banquet and a pre-rolled spliff. That always gets a laugh and a cheer from the chavs in the audience. You know,
right?
And then the when I bring it down and talk about like this, I try and paint this picture of me looking up at the stars, and, you know, she'll be a Libra. That always gets a laugh. Just the idea that I'm thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the biggest laugh comes at I'm probably not ready to be a dad, but it still doesn't feel like it's a big enough laugh for what the setup is, and it might just be because it is such a.
I think go bigger. I think try at least.
Yeah.
There's a number of ways you can go bigger, because when you were saying it to me, I didn't know if having 6 puffs on it was that. I feel like if you've got to be, you say you've got 1, but maybe reveal that you've had a couple. You got carried away, so she's in there giving birth, and you're still sitting there. You know, do you not think?
There's lots of different ways to take it, isn't it? Lots of different ways. It just depends how sort of honest to the actual story you want to be, and then, you know.
Funnily enough, it might work in an Edinburgh show because it is quite emotive, and it's there's not like, although there isn't like a sort of a huge payoff at the end.
There's
lots of laugh throughout. Well, not really.
Where do you go from there?
I will end it there. Like if I feel like if I end up doing that bit, I can end it there.
It feels like a point of a big laugh to me.
Yeah.
I just feel like I feel like you just need to maneuver the setup a little bit.
And then there is the journey after, like me walking through, like from the car to the delivery room and thinking like, I should go to the little shop in the thing and get some deodorant because I don't want to smell. Right. So I got in, I queued up and I got the deodorant and 3 packets of crisps and 2 chocolate bars and one of those little penny them lollies that are also a whistle that you only seem to get in dentists and chemists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
could the reveal be that you go to the wrong woman?
Like, once you're stoned and you're on a birth on a maternity ward, there's all sorts of.
It would be actually, if we were in the delivery room, because obviously Holly's laid up and that you got the thing.
You watched the wrong birth.
It'd be quite funny if they pass with the baby.
Pass with baby. I cut the umbilical cords, and then from the back I went, Ross.
Oh, that is funny, yeah.
Or something.
It was someone else's kid.
Yeah, I think that is.
You got to pass because I got given the baby, and then you take it up to the head of the mother, obviously, so that she can have skin to skin or whatever. It'd be quite funny if I got up to the other end.
She seemed really happy. Yeah, there's something in that, I think. And
she was just fuming that I still couldn't work out who she was by her insides.
There's definitely something in it, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think I like, because it is. I sort of. It was the first kind of story I'd written that was about something that was real that actually happened to me. Where obviously I've embellished certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
But it was I think I could feel the audience just like, listening intently. And obviously you want laughter, but have it knowing that's quite a power if you've got a bit where you can get them where they're right in the palm of your hand and that, and they want to find out what's happening. If you can find a big payoff at the end of that, it's going to be exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say try it a few different versions.
Yeah.
And maybe also, I'd say shorten to get to the punchline in practice.
Yeah.
So next time you do it, go as short as you can to get to the point, because sometimes you can have too long a build up, and that's why it doesn't pay off. So maybe try it getting there quicker, and then play around with.
So what you're saying is, once you've got the joke at the end, that works, then you can elongate the startup.
Yeah.
And almost not waste time at a new material gig, for example, if you only had 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we do another one?
Nice.
Do you want to press another button?
Yeah. Well, don't press I.
So, have you got any other?
Peek behind the curtain, isn't it?
Have you got any other jokes?
I've got a couple of these are all. I mean, these are all sort of premises that I've written, more ideas that I haven't tried yet, but I think there's definitely something in them. One of them is my daughter's 7 now, and she's into computer games and stuff. We got her a Switch for Christmas, and it's got Mario Kart on it, and obviously I'm a huge Mario Kart fan, but used to play huge tournaments and battles with mates and stuff, and she's beating me at it, is what I'm saying. So for the first time, I had contempt for her for the first time, and I think she'd beaten me because she's young. She's obviously rubbing it in that she doesn't understand the etiquette, you know what I mean? But she'll get knocked out, for that in the streets. But we had this game and she beat me like 3 times and then rubbed it in, and it was like I looked at her and it was the first time I'd looked at my daughter's face and actually had contempt for her, do you know what I mean? But it's sort of playing on that fact that I'm obviously in the wrong. She's a child, it's a game.
Yeah.
But that innate feeling of like, I felt it burning in here, like I really wanted to beat her. And it's like, why am I trying so hard to beat my own daughter? It's like, I should be proud that she's beaten me.
Yeah, I feel like this, like you need to do something to get the. So have you tried this on stage?
I started talking about it. Yeah, I talked about. I do a little bit other stuff about computers and stuff, and like during lockdown, Lexi's seeing me have FIFA Rage, for the first time because she's there and I just forget she's there,
FIFA Rage.
FIFA Rage, yeah.
Right.
It's like, did you play FIFA?
Is that the new FIFA? FIFA Rage.
Just no. It's FIFA Rage is an emotion that you experience when playing FIFA as an overgrown child. Yeah. So I got a bit about that and a bit about how. It's one thing your daughter finding out you got you're raging over a game of FIFA on the computer, but now we've got VR headsets and they're bringing out Grand Theft Auto. Imagine her coming down and finding me stamping on a prostitute or something in the living room.
Yeah,
don't look at your dad.
You're going to lose mark on computer games as much as you're on drugs, by the way. Just so you know.
Sorry,
you're going to lose mark on computer games as much as you are.
I do know what that is.
What do you do for fun?
I've never really. I did go for a stage of. I had a PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the last.
Yeah.
What games did you play on it?
Parappa the Rapper.
I played.
The Rapper.
Yeah, that was a great
No
game.
idea what that is.
was
Crash
amazing.
Bandicoot.
Yep.
Yeah. Abe's Exodus.
Oh, that was great.
I really like that one.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
FIFA, the Premier Manager, so not Championship Manager, but one before that, it was Premier Manager.
Are they actually bringing out Grand Theft Auto for the headsets?
Yeah, they are developing it, yeah.
Because that's the thing, I'm looking forward to, when we get really old, like years from now, I can't wait. It's just going to be ridiculous virtual reality.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my virtual reality joke?
I'd love to.
It's something along the lines of, it was quite good for my fitness, using my VR headset to play Street Fighter, but after an hour I hit the wall.
Very good, Mark.
Thanks
Another
very
one.
much. Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? Because I think if that just came up, it would be fine. But I think as a pre-planned joke, I don't think enough people. We of course know what VR headsets are, but I feel like my mum's generation.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
So I think you would lose them because they just wouldn't make the connection. And also, you've got to have the connection of knowing that exercise you can go so far and hit a wall. Which I still don't know if that's completely everyone would know that.
And also, if we want to be pedantic, you can't hit a wall because you, in the VR headsets, you give yourself a boundary, and then if you go out of that, then it disappears what you're looking at, and you can actually see actual reality.
You can punch like dogs and cats,
but
and
you can
to
punch
kids
dogs
that walk
and
in front
cats.
of you and stuff.
So Ross, that what you're talking about there about your daughter beating you on Mario is a modern day equivalent of passing the mantle. And what would have been traditional examples of that? You know, like, do you, like I remember.
I think like dads and their kids with football and or box. I don't know. I feel like there is a point where your kid gets better than you at a thing,
and you're meant to be like, oh, you're meant to be happy about it, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, you're not. You're really angry.
I feel that's what it is
because
because you feeling old, aren't you? It's that point of you accepting. Oh, actually, I'm.
Yeah, and also trying to separate, you know, your innate emotions, your childish emotions, and just about how frustrating. I mean, Mario's a frustrating game to play anyway, isn't it? Because you've got shells and knocking you over and stuff. But it's like, I should be. I remember when I beat my dad at golf for the first time. I was just elated, and I was rubbing it in all the way home. Yeah. I was like, I can't wait to tell Mum.
This is karma.
And he was like, tell Mum what? And then threw the scorecard out the window.
That's so.
There we go. Could you? Is that what you did? Yeah. Oh, mate, you've got to tell that.
Yeah, but then
that is it.
Is the punchline then you about throwing the PlayStation out the window? Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't.
Not the Switch.
The Switch. Or you
can't.
Maybe
if you tell the dad story first, and then say now I'm experiencing that myself.
You either do it, or you say you can't. You couldn't do it because it's so much more expensive.
400 quid. I ain't just chucking that out the window.
Would it also? I know it's not the truth, but would it be better if she beat you at FIFA, just so that it's more of what you're good at? Do you know what I mean? It's more of a moment.
Yeah.
I suppose the computer game itself doesn't really matter what it is. It just needs to be. The audience needs to.
Yeah, I think the issue with FIFA is not everyone knows what it is. So it's like I think like.
Do you think Mario
Kart? I think it's pretty universal that people know. Well, they know what Mario is anyway, and I think they can just put the two and two together.
Yes,
it doesn't take much explaining. But like if I when I tell a story about having that FIFA rage while she was in the room, it's like I have to sort of explain that it's a football game.
But if you've already explained what FIFA rage is, you can then go in to talk about her beating you at football, and then you sort of beating you at FIFA, and then you've already explained so everyone knows what you're talking about.
Is there not something about the fact that you could tie in this sort of the idea that you were driving back and your dad chucks it out the window, and then Mario Kart is also about cars, so there's a sort of a connection. I don't know there.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's not a whack, whack, whack. Right?
I didn't know what that button did.
You can't just.
I just guessed it.
Just willy-nilly start pressing G. I've pulled it down now, but E is laughter.
Painted myself to be a massive drug addict and a terrible father, but this has been wonderful.
That's what we're here for.
So, Ross, have you got anything you want to tell people about, to go and look at, see, anything?
Well, I'm on social media at the Ross McGrane on Instagram, Ross McGrane on Facebook. I run gigs in the South East as well, in Essex, under Little Smash Comedy.
And go see in Edinburgh.
So go and see me in Edinburgh. I don't know where I'll be or when I'll be there, but I will be there somewhere. Yeah.
Danny, social media?
Danny Wall, comedian, across all your platforms.
And at Jokes with Mark on mine, going on tour from the end of April when I get back from Australia. Tickets available marksimmons.co.uk, or the links in my bio on my social media at Jokes with Mark. Anything more from you, Danny?
Well, sort of, because I just got to time it right. So there isn't much more.
Also, you can go and watch the episodes on YouTube.
That's right.
The last loads of episodes we're putting on YouTube, full thing. Go check those out at Jokes with Mark on YouTube. Anything more from you, Danny?
Nothing more from me, Mark. Anything more from you, Mark?
Nothing more from me, Danny. #Aruga, everybody.